Hello, this is Chris Voisey, and I am a voice coach and a communication skills facilitator, and I'm talking to you on behalf of the Blue Frontier Path Online Academy. This is a holistic learning platform which offers coaching and mentoring to people who are developing some kind of educational thing like an MBA or a PhD, or whatever it might be, any sort of learning process. The Blue Frontier Path Academy exists to help you through that process to achieve what you're trying to achieve. And this morning, I'm very excited to have Charlotte Kemp with us. Charlotte is a futurist. And she hasn't brought her crystal ball, I don't think, but she thinks about the future in her mind and by looking at what's going on all around her. And we're going to be talking to Charlotte both about this aspect of future. What's in the future? What is business looking like? What is the world looking like as it comes down the track to meet us? And also Charlotte's experience, a lot of experience as a speaker in her subject, as a facilitator and a coach. So a very big welcome to you, Charlotte.
Chris, thank you very much. I'm very happy to be discussing this with you and to be able to support the work that Blue Line Path is doing, because I really, sorry, let me repeat that because I just got the company name wrong.
Okay.
I'll just repeat from there. Thank you, Chris. I'm really delighted to be here and to share with you today, especially to support the work that Blue Frontier Path is doing, because I really do support it. I love to see organizations like this helping people to shorten their career path by getting the coaching and mentoring and support and guidance that they need to make progress in their careers. For me, that's really important if we start to look at the future.
I really agree with you there, Charlotte, because there's so many people, particularly in South Africa, where we're almost trying to play catch up with education. And here there are so many people who are trying to balance a life, family demands, financial pressures, etc., with getting themselves qualified. So the idea of somebody helping in the mentoring sense, in other words, coming alongside another person and help them achieve, I couldn't agree with you more. How important is that job? Charlotte, tell us a little bit about yourself. Give us a little bit of background and maybe a bit of an insight into what you're doing at the moment in the business space.
Oh, thank you. All right. So I sort of started off in the training space many years ago in services, and I found myself helping my colleagues to understand the software that we were using or the products that our company was selling, and that evolved in the first real company that I worked for, creating a training department, and I was the first person moved into that training department. And for me, it has always been gratifying to know that there is knowledge and insight and wisdom that is somewhere or in somebody's head, and that we can find a way to transmit that to somebody else. So it's not wasted just being held in one person's head, but everyone gets to benefit from it. So for me, this is really important. My own career then evolved into becoming a professional speaker, and in that whole professional speaking space, of course, we do coaching and facilitating and sometimes consulting work and training and mentoring and coaching as well. So there's a whole kind of package, again, really focused on transmitting knowledge, insight, wisdom from one person to hopefully to many people. So I support any organizations that I find like that. And then in my own career path, I actually went back to a career guidance counselor. I sat with someone saying, this is where my career is, and it's nice, but I'd like to do more. I'd like to be more invested in what I'm doing, and I want what I'm doing and spending my life in to have a benefit beyond the next, next quarter in an organization. So we explored a whole lot of concepts together and eventually came up discovering that there are lots of studies and academic qualifications you can now get to become a futurist. And for me, that was like coming home, because everything that I've explored in my life really has been to that. So now that's what I want to share with people. How do we all look at the future and prepare ourselves the best way so that we get more out of the future and that we're not always trying to catch up?
So Charlotte, that sounds wonderful. And I just want to pick up on one thing, because You are obviously quite an accomplished speaker and have been in the speaking field for some time. In fact, if I'm correct, you are currently president of the Global Speakers Federation. Do I have that right?
Almost. I'm president-elect, so I become president in 2 months' time.
Okay,
Yes.
so you are very soon president of the Global Speakers Federation. Excuse me. In that capacity, you yourself have learned so much from people around you who are professional speakers. I mean, you're in a field that you've been into for some time, and you've met so many people who I'm sure have contributed into your own life, not even in direct or official mentoring, but simply by being there, supporting you, maybe challenging you, maybe giving you new ideas, whatever that might be. Am I correct in saying that?
Yes, and I have found it so valuable. So I became a speaker. I sort of evolved from training to speaking, and then you kind of re-embraced training and workshop facilitation again. But I've been involved in this space and in the associations for professional speakers for probably about 15 years now. And in that time, I have benefited from like you say, the casual one colleague passing on some insight to another, the semi-formal kind of mastermind sessions where peers come together and do something, to the formal workshops, to the formal learning programs. And because I've benefited from that, I have, in my leadership roles, really invested myself back into creating those opportunities for other people and being as generous as possible in finding ways to support people. I also had an additional benefit, which most people don't have, is that I married one of our past presidents, who is a very experienced, accomplished speaker. So I learned a lot more than maybe other people might have. But the whole idea every time is not to waste our knowledge, not to hoard it. What we know and what we do is not for us. It is for the people we work with. And if we can pass that on through formal or semi-formal or casual conversations, that is really, how we want to support our colleagues and our clients and our audiences.
So this whole idea of coaching and mentoring is something that has grown over the years. When I look back on my long past, in the early days, it really wasn't there in the way that it has become so significant and important. I mean, most top CEOs, most top people in management will have some kind of mentor or coach, even if that's just a sounding board, somebody who they can talk to and share ideas with. And this has become standard practice. In education, it seems to me to be even more critically important. When you're in a field which is very specialized, and requires a lot of your own brain and mind power to understand and come to grips with, to have someone with you to help you do that. If you look in your role as a futurist, Charlotte, is this the way of the future? It seems to me that it must be, is that as we go forward in education, as we go forward and people becoming more and more informed at better at what they do, mentoring and coaching seems to me to have a very important role.
Absolutely. One of the evolutions I think we've seen in terms of training, one of the problems trainers have always complained about and tried to find ways to overcome, is that we stand and we present a whole body of knowledge, and we only have a short period of time because a company doesn't want to have, most of their department out on a training course for 2 or 3 days. They know the learning is important, but they can't afford not to have those people doing their work. So as trainers, we've always had this concern that we're passing on important things, but you can't make a change. You can't fundamentally change someone's way of thinking, their mindset, their tool set in 3 days of training or even less. And I see the proliferation of coaching and mentoring opportunities that we're seeing as an answer to that. Almost as if there is an initial period of time where information is passed along, and then the coach really works with that person, gives them a sounding board, gives them some guidance, allows them to wrestle with fitting new knowledge into old patterns or breaking those old mental patterns to be able to think in a new way, to be able to embrace new opportunities. And I think it really kind of enhances and enriches all of the learning that we have in any platform. But especially at this level, when we're looking at MBAs and and that kind of tertiary education, there is a lot that we need to be able to take on board. And a coach really helps you to find that way and to manage all the other things in our lives at the same time as trying to change how we think about the world or about our topic.
Yeah, I find more and more in my own training in the sphere of communication, presentation skills, which is a very practical, applied skill set. I find more and more I'm wanting to build in the application. So we talk about understanding and we talk about application. And so the speaker role or the facilitator role means that with people, you explain what's going on, you try to get them to understand, you open their mind to new concepts. How do we apply this? How do you actually not leave this day of training until you've got some fix on how you would apply what you're learning? Otherwise, it's just more and more hot air, as I see it.
Yeah, absolutely. There's that application is really necessary. I find a lot of people trying to talk about micro learning, which I think is important. Micro learning is where you take a 3-day course and you break it down into 3 or 4 minute chunks, and then you deliver it, hopefully on some kind of an app where somebody can follow through. Micro learning is certainly a way that we're going to learn in the future. And having those quick wins is really important, that a person can learn something and be able to apply it, see it in action very quickly. But as important as those things are, we need to often, again, with kind of concepts that we're talking about here, we need to change some fundamental thinking, and that is a philosophical reflection. And unfortunately, philosophy takes a bit of time. The ancient Greek philosophers that we think of, they were sitting around talking. Their academies were about talking, sharing, wrestling with ideas. And we have very little time for that in the modern world. And again, that's where a coach comes in, where that person is dedicated to giving a person the time to embrace the concept, the space to have that philosophical reflection. And that means that what we learn and what we eventually produce, first of all, qualifying, and then having that qualification actually means something in the workplace where you're bringing more value than you ever could have before because of what you've learned. And that is thanks to that deep understanding of your topic, your new appreciation for what you've learned, and the coach helps you to do that. So I think it's a really good investment, not only of the money, but of the time it takes to be able to learn this.
And of course, I think talking about time, it can shorten the time. Yes. We talk about extra money we're going to invest into another person helping us get to grips with the subject, whatever it might be. But in fact, you are saving time in a way, because that person is there directly with you to get you to, they talk about unlearning these days, to maybe unlearn some thoughts and processes and relearn and try to understand in a way. That's the job of the mentor and the coach. And it is a critically important one in the journey of the learner. Well, we've covered quite a lot here, Charlotte. I don't know what else. Would you like to add anything else from a futures point of view, or just general thoughts on where we're going as we go forward in the very exciting field of education and learning?
Absolutely. So, the future of work is a popular topic. There's lots of content out there. There's lots of debates about what it looks like. And very often people come to a person like myself, who's a futurist, and they ask, what will it look like? What must I expect? And I wish I had that really juicy soundbite to give people so that they had direction and they could stop thinking about it, because now they know. And that's not what it is like at all. We have so many new variables now. Certainly artificial intelligence is one that is really intimidating a lot of people because they're scared about what that could mean. So my advice to people is to really understand, really embrace personally the value that you are bringing to any kind of work that you do. And the work that we do isn't just financially compensated. The work that we do is what we're creating to make our world better in some way. And the more we appreciate that, the less challenged we're going to be by market circumstances, the less intimidated we're going to be by some artificial intelligence application, because those things, as important as they are, even though they are causing real disruptions, they're not going to replace humans. genius and creativity is what we're looking for. Even if you're doing a practical course like, like accountancy or something like that, those skills and insights that we have as humans is what drives us forward. And we need to look at all the other circumstances around us as tools or circumstances we can use to enhance the work that we do. And if we have that approach to the future of our work, then it's going to be a lot more satisfying. We're going to feel like we are using tools to create things rather than fighting the whole time to prove that we are still relevant and not redundant in the face of some technology. If there's a technology that could make you redundant, then you haven't yet tapped into your genius, and maybe you need to have another conversation with your coach to find that.
Fantastic. Excuse me. We've been talking to Charlotte Kemp, who is the president-elect of the Global Speakers Federation and who is an expert in the future of work, the future of business, and the future of where we're going in terms of society and how we play the game of life. So a very big thank you to you, Charlotte, and to all our viewers and listeners. And we wish you all the best, all of you studying and opening your mind to new possibilities through the Blue Frontier path. Thank you very much.
Thank you.